Dear friends, welcome to this week's virtual Drasha. This week I have the incredible privilege to begin Chumash Vayikra, to Parshas Vayikra. And when we come into this Chumash, on one hand, there's an excitement. We're being introduced to a whole new body of law, sacrificial law, the laws of karbanos. The ability for man to take something material, to place it on the Mizbeach, and to lift it up in the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which on one hand really represents like the totality of what we're supposed to accomplish in this world. Kiddush HaChomer. As a people, we don't run away from the material. As a people, don't eschew the material, right? We're not an ascetic people. We believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a beautiful world with many beautiful material things for us to enjoy. The avoda is to enjoy it responsibly, and to a certain degree, karbanos kind of create the paradigm for that responsible enjoyment. So take something material, take something that could be inherently base or mundane, put it on a mizbeach, and a karban, from lashon of karov, bring it close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, uplift the material things in this world and endow them with sanctity. And it's not just livestock. It refers to our money, it refers to our homes, it refers to our possessions, it refers to anything and everything that we could possess that on one hand could be materially mundane, but if used in the right way, can be Kodesh Kodesh, can become the holiest of the holy. But yeah, there are many details. And especially again, as the Torah goes through the exhaustive list of karbanos, which again occupies much of the biblical real estate in this particular Chumash. Again, we've been thousands of years without a Beis HaMikdash, unfortunately. And we hope and we pray in Meretz Hashem that the Rebbe Shalom will give us the third Beis HaMikdash here, Rabbi Aminu. But until then, sometimes it's a little bit hard to relate to these halachas. Like what exactly? At a certain point, I'm so mired in sacrificial detail that I'm not exactly sure what to do. So on one hand, we could look at it much in the way that those of us who say karbanos in the morning, for me, one of the most enjoyable parts of davening is karbanos. I know it might sound a little bit strange, but it's the closest we come to the ability to offer up karbanos. As Chazal tell us, Uneshama parim sfasinu, when we say karbanos, it's almost as if we're offering up karbanos. When we learn Chumash Vayikra, we learn all of these halachas. So although we don't yet have the opportunity to actually offer up karbanos, but by saying the karbanos in the morning and davening, by learning the karbanos in Chumash Vayikra, we have a partial fulfillment of being able to bring the karbanos. So that's exciting and that's beautiful. But detail-wise, what is it that we're supposed to take? And like every other part of the Chumash, when you skim a little bit beneath the surface, the Rebbe Shalom gives us the most magnificent and life-altering lessons, embedded sometimes in what appears to be just ordinary details. And I want to share with you one such example from this week's parsha. The Torah says, this is in Parak Aleph, Pasuk Gimel, chapter 1, verse 3, Mamish, the beginning of Chumash Vayikra, the beginning of Parshas Vayikra. Im Ola Karbano. Person's going to offer up an Ola. Now, there are different types of karbanos. An ola is a karban that is fully consumed on the mizbeach. It's totally burnt. In other words, there are other karbanos like a shlamim, where, for example, again, part of it is burnt on the mizbeach, part of it is consumed by the kohanim, and part of it is consumed by the owners. But then there's an ola. An ola is totally consumed on the mizbeach. You put it on, totally burnt. No one gets a portion. All for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So he says, Im olo karbano, if you're going to offer up an ola, min bakar zachar tamim yakrivenu. Then if you're going to give it from cattle, then it has to be a male animal, tamim, unblemished, and offered up yakrivenu al pesach o al moed yakriv oso lirtzono lifnei Hashem. And of course, bring it to the pesach o al moed, because remember, one of the other important halachos is you can't just offer up karbanos wherever you want, at least during this period in history, in times of the Mishkan. You have to bring it to the Mishkan. You have to bring it to Pesach or Moed. That's where you offer it, lirtzono, in accordance with your will, the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to give willingly, and He wants us to perform the mitzvos in accordance with His will, lifnei Hashem, before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A pretty straightforward pasuk. A lot of important information. Introduction to Ola karban, fully consumed in Mizbeach. If it's going to be from cattle, it has to be male. It has to be unblemished. You have to bring it to the entrance of the Mishkan. Beautiful, beautiful. The great tzaddik, the Chozeh of Lublin, the Rebbe says something absolutely amazing. He says that there is a profound lesson embedded in this pasuk, and it's all about where you place the punctuation. And the Rebbe reads the pasuk like this: Im ola karbano. If a person wants to bring a karban, an ola, which is a karban where you're all in, a karban where you give everything. So the Rebbe says, Min bakar zachar tamim yakrivenu al pesach oel moed. Kama. If you're bringing an animal, that's incredible. If you're going to bring an animal, that's absolutely fantastic. And understand, that karban brings you to the entranceway of the Oel Moed. Kama, stop. However, yakriv oso, the Rebbe says, if at the end of the day, a person wants to go ahead and give of himself, then lirtzono, or you want to give of your will, lifnei Hashem. That brings you all the way to Hashem. An animal offering will bring you to the entranceway of Oel Moed. Yakriv oso, a sacrifice of yourself, a sacrifice of your will, that ultimately brings you lifnei Hashem, all the way before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Choseh says something absolutely beautiful. Essentially, there are two different types of karbanos that we bring. There are typical karbanos, like an animal, and that's all of Chumash Vayikra. You could go ahead and bring an animal, and that's incredible, by the way. And just so we should understand, I don't know how much a cow costs, or how much a sheep costs, or how much, but I would imagine it's not inexpensive. So the ability to take of your resources, of your money, of your livestock, of your herd, and give to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that is amazing. That level of self-sacrifice is really, it's very hard to part with money. We work hard for our money, we work hard for our sheep, we work hard for our cattle. And to go ahead and just kind of like give that to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not so simple. And the Moshe says, I appreciate it. And if you bring that karban, then ultimately, again, as the Pasuk says, that will bring you El Pesach or El Moed. That will bring you to the entranceway of the Mishkan. That'll bring you to the entranceway of the base of Mikdash. Incredible. But says the Choseh of Lublin, there's another type of karban. There's a more holier karban, there's a holier karban. There's a more exalted karban than the one you bring from your livestock. And that's the karban you bring from yourself. That's the sacrifice you give of yourself. That's a willingness to give over something of you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if you make that kind of karban, says the Choseh of Lublin, that doesn't simply bring you al Pesach or al Moed. That doesn't bring you to the entranceway of the Mishkan, but rather, where does that bring you? That brings you lifnei Hashem. That brings you all the way in. You know, you bring a karban, the way it works is, you drop that off at the entranceway of the Pesach or al Moed, at the entranceway of the Mishkan, or later on at the entranceway of the Beis HaMikdash. You hand it over to the Kohen, and you're done. You're done. You don't go any further. You bring it to the entrance, and then you're done. But you bring a sacrifice of yourself. You bring a sacrifice of your will, of your desires, of your wants, of yourself. That type of karban, that type of sacrifice, you go all the way in. That brings you lifnei Hashem. That brings you all the way in close proximity, kiviyach, like the Kodesh HaKadoshim, to the Holy of Holies before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Choseh says something so beautiful. He says, what does it mean, though, to sacrifice of oneself? I understand an animal sacrifice. I understand. Take something physical, give it over to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And again, I want to be clear. The Choseh is saying that's gadlus. It's greatness. V'haraya, the proof to that is it brings you to the entranceway of the Oel Moed. But that's all. You get to the door, you get to the entranceway, you hand it over, and then you go back home. But the Rebbe says something absolutely amazing. He says, Bema Adam Makriv Kikarban, Es Ritzonosav Hagashmim, Shelo Lelech Acher Masha Libo Misave, Elohu Miskaber Lasos Ritzon Kono V'chaves Tsuro. If a person literally gives up of his wills and desires, however, there's like a lot of things like I want to do in life, not good things we're talking about, like desires, that lusts, proclivities, all different things that I have, that I want of myself. And I exhibit the willingness to go ahead and give that up and yield that and sacrifice that. That's absolutely amazing. That's dramatic. And that type of karban, that type of sacrifice, that type of willingness to give, I want it, I desire it, but yet I'm willing to give it up. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want me to have it. When I exhibit that incredible sense of self-control and a willingness to give up and to sacrifice for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's the highest level of karban. And that type of karban, that type of sacrifice, ultimately allows me to come lifnei Hashem, all the way before the Ribono Shel Olam. I think we can take the Choseh one step further, because it's not just about sacrificing the things that you want. It's not just about sacrificing the things that you desire. There's more to it. Sacrifice also takes the form when I push myself to do the things that really I feel too tired or too unwilling to do. Greatness comes not when you meet expectations, but when you surpass and exceed expectations. Sometimes the greatest sacrifice we make is a willingness to sacrifice our own personal comfort. A willingness to get, you know what, I'm kind of comfortable where I am. I'm good where I am. And when I sacrifice that personalistic comfort because I want to do more, I want to become more, I want to accomplish more, That's where greatness sets in. That's where greatness comes about. That type of sacrifice doesn't simply bring you to the entrance of the Oel Moed, but that type of sacrifice ultimately brings you all the way Lifnei Hashem, all the way before the Ribono Shel Olam. Incredible. One simple pasuk, and yet the pasuk itself highlighting to us two dramatically different types of sacrifices we make in life, both holy, both noble, both incredible, but both get me to different places in life. The first type of karban, which is an animal offering, im ola karbano min habakar, if I'm willing to take of my material goods and I bring them before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is incredible and fantastic, just understand that karban will bring you to the entranceway of the mikdash, but will not bring you lifnai v'lifnim, will not bring you all the way inside. But if I find the courage to make the real karban, to make the real offering, to make the real sacrifices in life, what kind of sacrifices? Number one, there's so many things that I want to do, that I desire to do, but I give it up. Not because I don't want to do it. Not even because I've conquered the will, the desire, the lust, the proclivity, but because Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want me to do it. And so I'm willing to give something that I want up for my God. I'm willing to make that sacrifice. That brings the Lifnei Hashem. When I'm willing to sacrifice comfort. I'm happy where I am. I'm comfortable where I am. It's good where I am, but I'm willing to sacrifice that comfort because I'm going to push myself for more. I'm going to push and I'm going to push. I'm going to push. Whatever area of life, I want to push myself in building a better marriage, push myself building a better relationship with my kids, push myself in davening better, in learning better, in giving more tzedakah. Whatever sacrifice I'm willing to make of my personalistic comfort, just understand that sacrifice doesn't simply bring you to the entranceway of the mikdash. That sacrifice brings you all the way Lifnei Hashem. When you're willing to make the real sacrifice of yakriv oso lirtzono, willing to sacrifice things that I want because Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want me to have them, willing to sacrifice comfort because I know I need to push myself to become something greater. When I'm willing to make those types of personalistic sacrifices, I see everyone else standing by the entranceway of the Mishkan, the entranceway of the Mikdash, with their animals in hand, and shkoyach to them, and that's incredible. And I walk right past them. I walk into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. I walk lifnai v'lifnim. I walk lifnei Hashem all the way before God, because I come bearing the greatest sacrifice of all, the sacrifice of me, the sacrifice that I'm willing to give up things that I want for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the sacrifice of my personalistic comfort, because I know that I can accomplish more. Those are the ultimate karbanos that HaKadosh Baruch Hu desires of us, and those are the ultimate karbanos that bring us closest to the Ribon Shalom Lifnei Hashem. We should be Zochem Yirtz Hashem to get our third Beis HaMikdash. We should be Zochem Yirtz Hashem to bring our karbanos. We should be Zochem, there's still time to bring our karban Pesach. Yirtz Hashem b'shat tov u'matzlachos. We should be Zochem to actually walk to the Mikdash, animals in tow, bringing with us our karbanos. But until that great day, and even after that great day, we should be Zochem Yirtz Hashem to make the personalistic sacrifices as well. We should be Zochem Yirtz Hashem to get to the entranceway of the Mikdash. And then we should be Zochem Yirtz Hashem to walk all the way Lifnei Hashem. Wishing everyone a good Erev Shabbos and a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh.